All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're talking about something super important: aging stronger. We're going to break down a science backed plan to fight off that muscle loss that can sneak up on us. And we're basing this all on some fantastic recommendations from the ESPN expert group.
You know that feeling, right? You go to open a jar, something you've done a million times, and suddenly it's a battle. Well, it's not your imagination. That struggle is a real physical thing that's happening in your body. And believe it or not, it actually has a scientific name.
And that name is sarcopenia. It sounds kind of technical, but all it really means is the slow, steady loss of muscle, strength, and even endurance that comes with aging. So this isn't just a vague feeling of getting weaker. Nope, it's a real, measurable process happening inside our bodies.
Okay, so for the longest time, everyone just kind of accepted this as, an inevitable part of getting older. Well, that's just life. But, and this is the really exciting part, the whole reason we're talking about this today, the science has completely flipped that idea on its head. We now know for a fact that we can actually manage it.
So, how do we manage it? Well, before we get to the solution, we've got to really understand the problem. What's actually going on here? Why do our muscles get weaker? Let's dig in.
It really boils down to this fundamental mismatch. It's like a paradox. As we get older, for a whole bunch of reasons, we tend to eat less protein. But at the exact same time, our bodies are actually screaming for more protein than ever. And that creates this really big, dangerous gap.
So, you might be asking, why do we start eating less protein? Well, it's not just one thing, it's a whole cocktail of reasons. Our appetite can change, our sense of taste might not be what it used to be. Then there are medical issues, or even things like social situations and budget constraints that can make it tough to get enough of those protein-packed foods.
And while all that's happening, our bodies are basically turning up the dial on how much protein they need. Things like low-grade inflammation, which is pretty common as we age, makes our bodies demand more protein. And then there's this really key concept called anabolic resistance.
Anabolic resistance. What on earth is that? Okay, think about it like this. Your muscles have these little docking stations for protein. When protein shows up, it sends a signal to build muscle. Well, with anabolic resistance, those docking stations get a little, they get a little less sensitive. So you have to shout the message, meaning you need to send in more protein just to get the same muscle building effect you used to get.
And look, the consequences of this protein gap are incredibly serious. This isn't just about whether you can show off your biceps. We're talking about things that really impact quality of life. Frailty, disability, a much higher risk of falls and fractures, and ultimately losing your independence. This is why it is so important to pay attention to. All right, that's the problem. It sounds a little grim, I know, but here's the good news. Let's totally shift gears and talk about the solution, because there is a really effective one, and it's a powerful 1-2 punch. And here it is. If you take away only one thing today, let it be this. The experts are crystal clear. The magic happens when you combine getting the right amount of protein with regular exercise. It's not an either-or situation. It's the combination, the synergy between the two, that really moves the needle. I mean, the experts couldn't be more direct about it. Their words, nutrition in combination with exercise is considered optimal for maintaining muscle function. That's it. That's the formula. It really is the ultimate 1-2 punch to fight muscle loss. So let's make this super practical. We can break this whole strategy down into 2 simple, actionable steps. Step 1, we've got to optimize our protein intake. And step 2, we have to get moving with regular exercise.
Okay, that sounds great in theory, but what does it actually look like in real life? Let's get down to the nuts and bolts. This is your personal action plan.
All right, here's the first number you need to know. For healthy adults over the age of 65, the target is between 1.0 and 1.2 grams of protein for every kilogram of your body weight, every single day. And just to put that in perspective, that's a lot higher than the old recommendation. Now, what if you're sick or recovering from something? Well, your body's needs jump up even higher. In that situation, the target climbs to between 1.2 and 1.5 grams per kilogram. It makes sense, right? Your body is under stress, and it needs all those extra building blocks to repair and maintain itself.
So this chart right here pulls the whole plan together really nicely. You can see the protein targets we just talked about for when you're healthy and for when you're ill. And right alongside that, you see the all-important exercise piece.
The idea is to be active every day, but with a special shout out to resistance training. Things like lifting weights, using resistance bands, anything that directly tells your muscles, hey, time to get stronger.
Okay, there's another related condition that we really need to touch on. It's called sarcopenic obesity. And this one is a little sneaky because it's not just about the number on the scale. It's about your body composition, what you're made of. It basically means you have too little muscle mass for the amount of body fat you have, and that imbalance really messes with how well your muscles work. So how do you deal with that? The strategy has to be really precise. The number one goal is to lose the fat, but you have to protect your precious muscle at all costs. That means a careful combination, a moderate cut in calories, but keeping the protein intake high, and then hitting it with both kinds of exercise, endurance and resistance.
Okay, let's zoom back out. What's the big picture here? Let's bring it all together for the final verdict. What does this all mean for aging stronger? And you know what? For living longer and better.
Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. There's this common concern that always pops up. Wait a minute, isn't all that protein bad for my kidneys? And that's a totally fair question. But the science on this is pretty clear. For older adults who have healthy, normally functioning kidneys, this higher protein intake, all the way up to 1.5 grams per kilogram a day, is considered perfectly safe.
And hey, if you need a little real-world proof, check this out. It's so cool. Researchers looked at a group of centenarians in Japan, and they found that the ones who were still living independently had two distinguishing features. Can you guess what they were? You got it. They had a more frequent intake of protein, and they exercised regularly.
And that, right there, is the crucial takeaway. This whole conversation isn't about looking good in a swimsuit. It's so much deeper than that. Getting enough protein and moving your body regularly are, without a doubt, the most powerful tools you have to hold on to your strength, your function, and your independence as you get older.
So, I want to leave you with a question to think about. After hearing all this, what's just one choice, one small thing you can do today to start building a stronger tomorrow? Maybe it's as simple as adding a protein source to your next meal, or just deciding to take a 10-minute walk after dinner. What's that one choice for you?